Hello and welcome to a new video of the Path to DevOps series. In today's video, we're going to create and initialize the MySQL database that the backend microservices need in order to function properly. The reason why we're doing that is because my plan is that you're going to run the same stack of applications that I showed you last time on your local host. So if that sounds interesting, let's jump right into it. As I mentioned in the introduction of this video, we're going to use mainly Microsoft technologies because that's what I'm best at. So this is Azure, Microsoft's cloud provider. You will need to create an Azure subscription, which as you see here can be pay-as-you-go, which means you will be charged on a monthly basis, but there's also a free tier, which as you can see gives you 12 months of popular services for free, plus 40 other services always free. And you also have a 30-day $200 Azure credit that you can use and spend as you wish to create your resources. Throughout this journey, we're not going to use a lot of technologies, so that's not going to cost a lot. We only need a MySQL database, which you see here is free for 12 months. And we'll also need maybe Azure Key Vault, which is pretty cheap, and AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service. So if you plan to follow along on this journey and maybe create one free account and try to do everything in 1 month, then you won't actually need to pay for anything if you cancel your subscription. And even if you have to pay, I guarantee it's not going to be more than $100 a month if you stop your resources or you delete them during weekends when you don't need them. That being said, I'll assume that you will create your subscription or you already have one to follow along. Once you're in your Azure account by hitting portal.azure.com and logging in, you will see all kinds of resources, but don't get distracted. We need to create a MySQL database. So just hit the plus button on create a resource and type in MySQL. I will be doing this just so it makes more sense to you. And the products will load and we have here Azure Database for MySQL. So let's select this one and let's create it. And here it asks us if we want the flexible one or the single server. I honestly don't care. I'm gonna go with flexible because it's cheaper and this is just something that I'm going to delete later on. Now in here, it asks us what subscription we want. If you've just created one subscription, you're going to have access to that one. I happen to have more, so I'm going to choose one of them. And then I'm just going to give it a dummy barbART name, because it's the barbART project, and this is just a dummy MySQL server to show you how to create it. And I'm going to choose West Europe because it's closer to me, development or hobby projects. That fits our category, and no availability zones, we don't care about that. Now in here, make sure to remember what password you're actually using and repeat that again in here, and hopefully they match. Yeah, I got the green tick, so it matches. In the networking tab, just leave it on public access, it doesn't matter at the moment, and add your current IP address to the firewall so that you can connect from your local device, which I'm calling localhost, and I've called localhost a few times before. And then just go to review and create. It'll just take a few moments, and basically it's telling you it's okay. It's gonna be $14.65 a month. For me, because I'm paying for these subscriptions, but it doesn't matter. And just hit create. And now I'm going to stop the video because it will take a few minutes for this to actually get created, but I will continue when it's up and running. And here we are, through the lost art of time travel, we've reached the moment where our deployment succeeded, so we can actually inspect the resource that got created. Here we have the Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server, dummy minus barbART, and we have here the server name, the admin login name. Basically, we've created a MySQL server. But what can we do with a newly created MySQL server? Well, not much. at least not until we initialize it. We create a database inside of it, a table or more tables inside of that database, and put some data in there. Well, in order to do that, we're going to need two pieces of information or two tools. The first one is MySQL Workbench, and I'll leave the link to this in the description so you can download it. You just have to create an account with Oracle, but that's fine, no cost attached. Just create an account with your secondary email account and you're going to be fine. And then you're also going to need from my GitHub account, link in the description as well, the product table query.sql. So this one will create the products database, and then it will create a product table inside of that database and put some information, some data into that table. So let's get this magic rolling. I'm not going to show you how to install the Workbench because it's basically click, 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 next, 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 and then you have the application. First, we need to connect our MySQL Workbench client to our MySQL database in the cloud. So let's create a new connection here on MySQL Connections and click this plus, give it a name. And let's copy our information from the portal. So we need the server name right here and add it here in hostname. And then the port is always 3306, and your username is going to be the one that you selected. And test connection, it's going to ask for your password. Let's hope I don't mess it up. And there we go, successfully made the SQL connection. That's great. So let's hit OK and OK again. And now if we double click or just simple click this, it will open the connection to our server. Now, if you can see here under schemas, basically I think it will open the administration tab, but switch to schemas. You have the system database, it's the default one. And what we want to do is actually create our own. So from my GitHub account, you can actually copy this code here. And actually I'm going to use the copy button, it's easier. Go back to MySQL Workbench and paste it all in here, and just click the little lightning button which will execute the code, and you should get a lot of green tick marks here. And now if you refresh the schemas view, you will see a products table appeared, and if you expand tables and you select the top 1000 rows from the product table, you will see the information here. So this is the product information that will be presented by the front end, if you remember the pictures with the colored beard dye, right? So now you have your MySQL database initialized. You were able to connect to it from the MySQL Workbench client. I think that's it for this video. Let's jump into the next one where we're going to talk about the backend microservices, how we compile them, and most importantly, how do we connect them to the MySQL server in order to get this information from the table. Thanks a lot for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.